Welcome to our Mothers Out Front Massachusetts Climate Action Call. For those of you who are not familiar with our climate action calls, in the next 45 minutes, you will learn about a specific climate issue and we will take focused action together. Today's call relates to the financial impacts of climate change. We know that climate change is causing more extreme weather and natural disasters, which are leading to very high insurance losses. Insurance companies are focused on profit, so they're raising their rates and putting conditions on policies, sometimes requiring the removal of trees and threatening cancellations of policies. Property owners and tenants are having to shoulder this cost burden, but the environmental consequences affect us all. Today's call will focus on proposed state legislation to curb these insurance practices and protect our community trees. We are pleased to welcome our allies from Trees as a Public Good Network and also Our Revolution Massachusetts. They are our co-sponsors of this call. When we get to the actions, we will be using tools and resources they've provided. And since we have so many new faces here today, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves in the chat. Share your name, where you're calling in from, and which organization you're with today. Thank you. So here's a quick preview of the agenda for our climate action call. After a brief overview of the focus today, we will hear a personal narrative from Elisa Plazanja of Brookline. Next, we'll dive into today's topic, including hearing from two special guests, a homeowner from Cambridge and a state rep from Newton. Then we'll move on to our action. We have set aside about 15 minutes of this call to take action together. We will come back together for a few important announcements at the end and also some next steps, and we will end this meeting promptly at 12:45. We do hope you'll stay until the end. Before we get going, I'll quickly go over a few norms for this meeting. Please rename yourself in Zoom to include your name, your city or town, and the organization you're with. Be sure to mute yourself when we are together in this main room if you are not already muted. You can use the chat to share any comments or questions during the call. Closed captioning is available, and you should be able to access that tool at the bottom of the screen. And finally, we are recording this climate action call. If you do not want to be seen in the recording, please use your Zoom controls to turn off your video. And with that, I will pass this presentation over to Melissa Brown. Oh, Melissa, you're muted.
My apologies. Thank you, Diane, and hello, everyone. My name is Melissa Brown. I'm the legislative lead of the Mothers Out Front Healthy Soils Action Group and a member of the Newton chapter. Today's call was organized by the Healthy Soils Action Group. We're a statewide group, and we operate within Mothers Out Front's larger climate agenda on reducing carbon emissions. Our group focuses on nature-based climate solutions, including urban trees that cool and clean our air, reduce flooding, and remove carbon from the air and store it. Today, we're here to make a more livable future by supporting a state bill that will help save our urban tree canopy. We like to start our climate action calls with members' personal stories, and today we're going to hear from Elisa Plazanja from the Brookline chapter. She's the co-chair of the chapter's tree team. Elisa will share her path to climate action and conservation, including her work with Mothers Out Front. Elisa?
Thank you so much, Melissa. And hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So, even though I'm a city girl, I have loved trees and nature for as long as I can remember. So one of the things that attracted me to Brookline was its beautiful tree canopy. We're really lucky to have so many mature trees everywhere, even in the denser urban neighborhoods like mine. So I was pretty disturbed when I came across a Mothers Out Front sign a few years ago on a neighborhood tree that said that it was being poisoned by an underground gas leak. I was saddened that this beautiful tree was slowly being killed, and I was angered that the culprit was so-called clean natural gas. But I was also curious, who are these Mothers Out Front people that I'd never heard of before? So I went to their website, And that led me to the tree team that I am now a part of. At my first meeting, I was absolutely floored. Here was a group of intelligent, passionate, caring women who love trees as much as I do. And they weren't just sitting at home wishing that things were different. They were taking action to protect them and add to their numbers. And I was left wondering, like, how did I not know about this group sooner? So the more meetings I attended, the more I learned, not only about the threats facing our town's trees, but also about what we could do to defend them. We were frustrated that trees were continuing to be cut down for development, even though we had a tree preservation bylaw. So we decided to put forward a town meeting warrant article to expand that bylaw and increase the replanting that's required when a healthy tree is removed. And it passed overwhelmingly, thanks in no small part to the relentless effort of Mothers Out Front. At the same time, members of our tree team are planting Miyawaki mini forests and promoting Brookline's front yard tree planting program to expand our canopy. And while it seems like this work is prompting an awakening about the value of trees, we've realized that we still need a lot more education about their value and their importance to our survival in the face of climate change. And we also need structural changes to give trees a louder voice in decision making. So what I'm hoping for in the long term is that through these efforts, we'll be able to make trees central to our planning, policies, and priorities, so that instead of having to fight tree by tree battles, preserving mature trees will be a core tenet of our values, second nature, if you will. It's an ambitious goal, I realize, but if there's one thing that I've learned over the past few years, it's to never underestimate the tenacity and power of mothers out front. Thank you.
Thank you, Elisa. Thank you for your inspirational story, and thank you very much for all the work that you're doing. So today, our climate action is going to be to support a state bill allowing people to preserve trees around their homes. But some people might ask, why are trees worth saving? Mature trees give many benefits to our communities. Trees reduce heat island effects, lowering temperature and reducing energy use. Trees filter the air, removing particulate air pollutants, and also removing and storing carbon dioxide. Trees reduce stormwater flooding. They reduce soil erosion. And all of these efforts mean that trees also reduce illness and mortality rates in our neighborhoods, improving public health. Trees also do so much more. These benefits are why it's so important to preserve our existing tree canopies and to expand them in our communities. Most people don't realize how much contribution even one single tree makes. This one sweet gum tree pictured here provides enough cooling shade and blockage of winter winds to save 173 kilowatt hours of energy for both of the houses. 107 for the house on the left, 66 kilowatt hours for the house on the right. This one tree absorbs enough storm water through its leaves and diverts enough storm water into the ground through its root system to reduce runoff by 1,604 gallons annually. This tree also breathes in enough carbon dioxide through photosynthesis to remove 187 pounds of carbon dioxide. And these amounts grow as the tree matures. Large trees do even more. Large trees provide 92% more benefits than small trees. To replace the carbon services of one single large oak tree requires planting 465 saplings, or else waiting decades for a single sapling to mature. Because most trees require 30 years just to reach maturity. The lifespan of healthy trees varies by species. Oak trees, for example, can live 300 years or more. So the takeaway message from this is that we need to preserve our large trees. But where we see a community benefit when we look at a large tree, insurance companies see a potential claim they may have to pay if a tree falls down in a storm. This sycamore in my yard dropped very large branches when we first moved into the home. And we got an arborist who explained to us, after examining the tree, that it was a healthy tree, it just had some dead branches. So he pruned the dead branches off and does so regularly. The tree has since been through 2 hurricanes and not dropped any branch larger than a finger. So how can we know whether a specific tree is dangerous? And this is where certified arborists come in. This is a professional licensed position, licensed by the International Society of Arborists and also by the state of Massachusetts. Within this profession, there's an additional level of certification required to be able to perform what's called a basic tree risk assessment. It has international standards for evaluating whether a tree has low, medium, high, or extreme risk. But some insurance companies seek to avoid, one of the other pieces about consulting an arborist is that with regular maintenance of a tree, which they can advise on, it improves the health of the tree and reduces the risk. But some insurance companies seek to avoid any risk of payout. They are demanding people cut down any trees near their home, even healthy trees that are not high risk. Shortly, we're going to take action to support that bill preventing insurance companies from doing this. But first, we're going to consider, in the absence of legal protection, what do you do if your insurer says you must cut down your trees or we won't give you any insurance? So our second guest speaker today is Bernice Baresh. She lives in Cambridge, and she has firsthand experience in fighting an insurance company to save her beloved trees. Bernice, thank you for
Yes,
joining us. We're so excited to hear from you.
thank you, Melissa. 2 years ago, when my house insurer sent a notice of a huge increase in premiums, I went shopping for a different insurer, and a local agency signed me up with MAP-free at what seemed to be a bargain rate. July 22, 2024, inspection report from CoreLogic Underwriting Center. Exterior hazards, tree condition concerns, minor. Tree limbs overhanging the front and left sides, overgrown shrubbery on front and left sides of house. Okay, that's the report. Okay, no problem, I thought. I live in a 3-story brick house built in 1888 on a large lot at the top of what is known in Cambridge as Avon Hill, 3 blocks from the Porter Square T station. And we bought the house in 1978 when it was run down and sort of cheapish. Currently, there are 12 mature trees on the lot that are cared for on a regular basis by an arborist. After this notice, a new one came the next day from the Galanta Insurance Agency, which ordered the shrubbery to be trimmed, and then this. Overhanging and leaning trees in picture 2 and 3 must be removed. These are larger trees, and where they're leaning toward the house, if they were to come down, they could do substantial damage. A few days later, an arborist and I were standing outside scratching our heads about this directive regarding anonymous trees. So one of them is apparently the slender dogwood. It poses no threat to the house. And if you look at tree photo number 1, you'll see the dogwood. So the second tree we deduced, since it was never named, is an ornamental crab apple in the niche at the patio. In fact, you can probably see it behind me. If you look at photos 2 and 3, it's hard to imagine how it could possibly damage the house. So the arborist and I stood there and I said, at least they didn't come for the spruce. And then they came for the spruce. Tree photo number 4. It's a spruce as seen from the corner of Washington Avenue and Upland Road. August 15th, 2024, notice from the insurance agency. The tree in the attached photos is the main concern. It appears to be a large tree, which is overhanging and leaning towards the dwelling. Therefore, it should be removed. I deduced that they meant the spruce. Notice the tree is not described by type or species. A tree is a tree is a tree, as Gertrude Stein might not have said. When we bought the house 48 years ago, both the spruce and I were a lot younger. And since then, unlike me, the spruce has grown much taller and is in comparatively better shape. It, like my other trees, is pruned every 2 to 3 years. So here's the perspective of the spruce from the yard in photo number 5, and the aerial shot that they sent in photo number 6. After I pulled myself together, I contacted the arborist, who then wrote a letter to the insurance agent, and I would like to quote it. Quote, "The Norway spruce, Picea abies, has been under a routine pruning schedule. There has been no significant branch failures, nor any pest or disease-related issues that may have compromised the tree's health. The tree has experienced no major disruption to its root environment while under our care, and is otherwise an exceptional tree. Furthermore, the city of Cambridge has enacted a tree protection ordinance to help in reducing the loss of urban tree canopy to slow the effects of climate change on its city and its residents. Given this tree's history and experience through various high wind events over the course of its lifespan, I find its removal unwarranted at this time." Success. Insurance coverage was continued. July 14th, 2025, 1 year later, quote, "Insurance cancellation. Reason, trees overhanging the roof." Somehow I managed to get the cancellation canceled, but the next insurance renewal is slated for next month, and I think I know what is going to happen. What is not going to happen is cutting down the spruce. But let's just speculate on the effects of destroying it. What would be the benefits? No spruce needles in the gutters, I suppose. No spruce cones all over the yard. The negative effect of annihilating the spruce? Snowstorm and ice dam damage to the northeast corner of my house and deck. In storms, the spruce's big boughs swirl and dissipate the force of the wind and snow hitting the house. And without it and its roots, there would likely be spring floods rushing down the embankment and into the street. Besides me, who would miss the spruce? The more than 25 bird species that visit it each year, plus the 17-year cicadas that live in its roots, and the visitors to the property who remark on how cool my yard is in the summertime. You know, this bill is brilliant and might be seen as a gift to the insurance companies, a real win-win. It encourages homeowners to take care of their trees. Healthy trees are less likely to fall on houses, sparing insurers thousands of dollars in damages. Plus, they help to mitigate climate change, the very reason that insurers are panicking and pushing the wrong solutions. Perhaps they could be encouraged to see the benefits of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernice. Thank you for your dedication, which is truly inspiring. And thank you, too, for reminding us of the many benefits that your spruce provides for biodiversity and in financial savings with regard to energy and flooding. So it is now my pleasure to introduce State Representative Amy Ma Sangiolo. She has filed House Bill number 1316 to ensure that Bernice and others don't have to choose between saving their trees and having homeowners insurance. Rep. Sangiolo was planning to be with us in person today, but she was called to an unexpected urgent meeting. So she made a brief video for us to explain her bill. And we're going to transition now to the video that she sent us.
Good afternoon. I'm State Representative Amy Moss-Angiolo, and I represent the 11th Middlesex District, which is the northern section of Newton, and I am the lead sponsor of this legislation. I want to thank Mothers Out Front and Melissa Brown for organizing this climate action call and for highlighting the importance of protecting our tree canopies, and take a moment to talk about the bill I filed to protect homeowners and preserve our community's trees. H 1316 is simple and only one sentence long. It states, Chapter 175 of the General Laws is hereby amended by adding the following section. Section 231. A company shall not require the removal of a tree from the property of a holder of a homeowner's insurance policy if a certified arborist has determined the tree is not a hazard to the property. It simply prohibits insurance companies from requiring the removal of a tree if a certified arborist determines that the tree is not a danger to the property. Bernice and homeowners in Newton, across Massachusetts and around the country have increasingly reported receiving notices from their insurance companies requiring them to remove trees or risk losing coverage. In many cases, these decisions are based on photographs, satellite images, or generalized underwriting standards rather than an on-site evaluation by a qualified tree expert. The problem is that many of these trees are healthy, mature trees that do not pose a danger to the home. This legislation creates a common sense safeguard. If a certified arborist, the professional trained to assess tree health and risk, determines that a tree is not hazardous, an insurance company should not be able to force its removal. This is important for several reasons. First, it protects homeowners from unnecessary costs. Removing a tree can cost thousands of dollars. Second, it protects property rights. Homeowners should not be forced to remove healthy trees without evidence that they present a genuine risk. Third, it helps preserve the environmental benefits that trees provide. Trees reduce stormwater runoff, improve air quality, provide shade during extreme heat, capture carbon, and contribute to the beauty and character of our neighborhoods. This bill strikes the right balance. It does not prevent the removal of a dangerous tree. If a certified arborist determines that a tree poses a hazard, appropriate action can still be taken. The goal is simply to ensure that decisions are based on expert evaluation rather than assumptions. So what happens next? The bill was heard by the Joint Committee on Financial Services in September and reported out favorably and referred to the Committee on House Steering, Policy, and Scheduling. The committee reported that the matter be placed in the orders of the day for the next sitting in February and was ordered to the third reading. Bills in third reading are finalized for legal form, debated, and voted on for engrossment. If it passes this stage, it moves to the other chamber to repeat the process. I will now turn to Melissa to explain the process in more detail. Thank you so much.
I am so thankful for Representative Sangiolo's leadership on this issue that matters to people where we live. Now, Rep. Sangiolo mentioned several committees, and I know that's a bit confusing. So this slide gives a very brief overview of the process that most bills in the Massachusetts State House take to become a law. Rep. Sangiolo's bill, H 1316, is stuck where the red arrow is. So in Massachusetts, bills are filed by a sponsor in one chamber, the House or the Senate. This is a House bill, number 1316. Sangiolo is the sponsor. It gets co-sponsored by other legislators who support the bill. This has 6 co-sponsors. Then it's reviewed by a joint committee from both chambers that focuses on particular topics. This was reviewed by the Financial Services Committee, which, among other things, focuses on insurance. If approved, what Sangiolo referred to as favorably reported, a bill usually goes directly to the Ways and Means Committee, and then, if approved, to a floor vote and to the other chamber. Note that most bills filed each legislative session do not become laws. Now, after the Financial Services Committee, Bill H 1316 took a detour. First, it went to a scheduling committee for 2 readings, and it's now in the Committee on Bills in the 3rd reading. It's been stuck there for over a month, and if it's not reported favorably to the Ways and Means Committee, the bill will expire, both figuratively and literally. Now, it is possible to move bills out of this 3rd reading committee, but it requires popular support. So the first thing we need to do is to get H 1316 unstuck and moved into the House Ways and Means Committee. Then we have a larger issue. The best way to get a small bill like this one all the way through that process and passed into law is to attach it to another larger bill, especially a bonding bill from the governor that must be passed this session. So that's the second thing we need to do, attach H 1316 to the environmental bond bill. If you don't know what that environmental bond bill is, it's a major bill submitted by the governor once every 5 years or so. It funds nature-based climate solutions, including anything having to do with what's called green infrastructure. That's waterways, wetlands, forests, urban trees. It also has to do with measures related to protecting biodiversity of species, and also it's broadly expanded to deal with all measures for agricultural lands. The environmental bond bill is now in the House Ways and Means Committee. Once we get H 1316 into the House Ways and Means Committee, there's a better chance of getting it attached to the environmental bond bill. Now, your phone calls and emails matter. The most effective way to persuade committees to act is emails and phone calls from the public, and also contact from state representatives to the committee chairs. So to stop legislative inertia and move H 1316 forward, we need to address Representative Thomas Walsh of Peabody, who is the chair of the Committee on Bills in the 3rd reading, where the bill is stalled. We also need to address Representative Aaron Michaelwitz of Boston, Wards 3, 4, and 5, who's the chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, where the environmental bond bill is now. We also want to address Representative Christine Barber of Medford and Somerville, who is the House chair of the Joint Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. ENR committee reviewed the environmental bond bill a year ago, so Chair Michaelwitz is likely to consult Chair Barber on additions to the environmental bond bill. It's also very helpful for state reps to let higher level leadership know that they are hearing from their constituents about a particular bill or issue that matters to them. So now we're going to get prepared to take action with our legislators. We're going to take 3 actions today. I'll describe them briefly here, and then we'll give you a link to the action toolkit that will walk you through each action and provide additional resources. So the first action, we're going to ask each of you to telephone your own state representative and ask them to urge committee chairs and House leadership to support this bill, H 1316. If you don't know, the toolkit has a link to look up your state rep and their office phone number. The second action we're going to ask you to do is to use automated emails from our allies, Trees as a Public Good Network and Our Revolution, Massachusetts. Just a few clicks will allow you to send one email to the 3rd reading committee asking them to unstick this bill, and then another email to your state rep asking them to support adding to the environmental bond bill, H 1316, as well as other tree-friendly bills. The third action we're going to ask you to take is to send a personal follow-up email to your state representative. The toolkit has a template email for you to easily copy and paste. And please remember, while we recommend keeping emails to legislators short and to the point, it is important to add your personal story. Having legislators hear your voice makes all the difference. So you can find all the information you need in the action toolkit that we prepared for today. You will find links to find the contact information for your rep, a phone call script, links to the automated emails, a template for your personal email, and at the bottom, links to additional resources like fact sheets and upcoming webinars on forests and urban trees. Deb is going to put the link to our toolkit in the chat. Please click on the link to access the toolkit.
Thank you,
Diane?
Melissa. We're going to start right away on the actions. We'll all be quiet for the next few minutes. If you have any questions about this, you can drop them in the chat. If you're really struggling with the tech, don't worry, because you'll get all these instructions by email later today or tomorrow. But if possible, get them done right now. We'll see you back 12:40, or maybe we'll give you another minute or two. Good luck. So let's take a little pause now. We're at the end of our time for now. You can always finish up later if you weren't able to complete the actions during the call. I loved seeing people on mute and speaking on the phone to their reps. So hearing the personal stories today from Elisa and from Bernice demonstrates that when we speak up on issues that we care about, people listen. Our legislators listen. It's going to take a lot of us to tip the scales in favor of real climate solutions. But every month, we build our movement a little bigger, we raise our voices a little louder, and a few more decision makers sit up and listen. And that is the power of this movement. So later today, you will receive a follow-up email. It will have the toolkit we shared today, these slides, and a recording of the call. We encourage you to forward that email to your networks across Massachusetts, because this is a statewide issue, and tell your local friends and neighbors about what you learned today. You may have seen the resources section of the toolkit includes info about 2 upcoming webinars that may be of interest. The first one is this Thursday, June 4th at 7:15. It's on Zoom, and the topic is Wilderness and Roadless Forests for Watershed Health. And Deb will put the link in the chat for that, and it's also in the toolkit. The next one is next Tuesday, June 9th at 5:30, also on Zoom. And that topic is the topic is how heat, air quality, and trees affect our health. So Deb will drop that link in the chat too. So Mothers Out Front hosts a welcome call the second Friday of every month at noontime. The next one is Friday, June 12th at noon. So if you've asked yourself about what more you could be doing to stop climate change, then you should join this call. We will work with you to identify a specific way that you can use your unique talents, your skills, and experiences to build a stronger, more effective, and more inclusive movement for change. So join us and bring a friend. That link will go in the chat. And finally, we want this climate action call to be on your calendar every month. And Deb will drop that final link into the chat. Our next monthly climate action call will be on Tuesday, July 7th at noontime. The statewide campaign team will be providing updates on the status of the energy bill in the legislature. This is very important. We're trying to get a strong energy bill before the end of the session at the end of July. So this is an important call, and you won't want to miss it. We have the registration link in the chat. So thank you to our guest speakers, to our co-sponsors, and many thanks especially to all of you for joining and taking action today. Hope to see you again next month in July.